excited to be here today and present to you on the global significance of the latke and how it, and not the hamantachen, is the great connector across the world, a warm, multicultural embrace, and a sanctuary food for travelers like myself. And I speak about the global connecting power of the latke from experience. This map of travel pushpins, which hangs in my kitchen, shows all the latke-loving places in the world that I'm visiting. Later this month, I'll be no doubt eating some delicious fried potato concoction in Belize, the 86th country I'll be visiting. I've been to every continent but Antarctica, and suffice it to say, I have lots of travel stories, adventures, misadventures, and meals under my belt. And as you'll hear today, the latke is key to life on the road in foreign places and exotic cultures. But let's not just start with my opinion, but with the opinion of other well-reputed globalists. Take Tom Friedman and his famous book on globalization. The world is flat was a metaphor, right, for viewing the world as a level playing field and the shift required for countries, companies, and people to remain competitive in the global market in which historical and geographic divisions are increasingly irrelevant. He looked at 10 flatteners that have leveled the global playing field. And while admittedly, the first book left latkes off the list, there were some key premonitions. The 2 L's on the cover. The latke-looking earth. Uh-oh. The latke-looking earth. In fact, this whole book was simply a precursor to his even bigger bestseller, The World is Fried and Flat, a global view of the significance of the latke. I worked closely with Tom Latkeman, the nickname I gave him while serving as his primary source of information for this new bestseller. And I'll lay out some of our arguments today. Let's start with the power of global symbols. The world, our earth, a perfect latke circle. The infinity sign, a representation of oneness, a reminder that we are all united in this cycle of life. 2 perfect latke circles coming together. The yin-yang, describing how seemingly opposite and contrary forces might actually come together and be interconnected and interdependent. A perfect latke circle. And the mandala, representing the universe metaphysically and symbolically. A perfect latke circle. But no symbol or object best represents travel than the ultimate perfect latke circle, the wheel. From carts to chariots to bikes, planes, trains, cars, RVs, and taxis. And not coincidentally, who's the world's most famous taxi driver? So let's not forget the power of the perfect latke circle wheel to get us off our couch and on the open road seeing the world. But the triangle, the known hamantachen symbol, well, no doubt you've heard all about global warming, but the triangle is a symbol of global warming. What does the hamantachen triangle symbol mean or symbolize? Hazard, caution, look out, your ship might sink, slippery, radiation. Even the world's most trusted source of information confirms this. Wikipedia reads, while warning sign designs may vary, they usually take the shape of the equilateral triangle. And I love the rabbit hole as Wikipedia, so I can't resist reading verbatim. They talk about warning signs in all different countries, and they say, the polar bear warning sign in Svalbard, which I had to Google, is midway between Norway and the North Pole, recently changed from displaying a black bear on a white background to a white bear on a black background, but both signs were triangular. Now let's look at the latke versus the hamantachen from a global food perspective and the perspective of trying to eat on the road. And those of you with queasy stomachs, you are forewarned about the next few slides. First, if you were lucky enough to find a menu in English, you often confront very confusing translations. So green pea or steamed crotch or Thai-style uterus aside, there are lots of exotic and, dare I say, very real and scary foods that a traveler encounters. Fortunately, keeping kosher style on the road and avoiding obvious trait has helped me avoid eating these insects in Thailand, these hard-boiled duck embryos in Southeast Asia. I'm not kidding, picture like a hard-boiled egg, but when you open it, there's like a fully formed duck in there. The roasted guinea pig in Peru, and this goat lung specialty in South India. Potatoes have been my rescue and my food sanctuary. Indeed, just this summer, potatoes rescued me from needing to eat these snacks, mice plucked from the maize fields of Malawi, where I volunteered for a month in August. These kids were there to greet me at the local bus station in town. I'm not kidding, I stepped off the bus and this was the first thing in Nakoma, Malawi that I saw and photographed, and thank goodness I could get fried potatoes in town. In fact, fried potatoes rescued me and my whole family from this meal in the Philippines when we signed up on New Year's Eve for this special holiday meal and had quite a surprise when a whole roast pig appeared. They made money on us that night, no doubt, when we had to entirely forego the main dish and eat only the veggie sides like, behold, the Philippine fried potato dish, essentially a Filipino latke. To the weary traveler, fried potato dishes are the most welcoming and familiar of foods, and they span so many countries and cultures. Like this popular Indian street food dish in New Delhi, the aloo tikki potato cake, which at about 10 cents a serving is a filling bargain. Essentially, an Indian latke. And trust me, in African villages, when you're only eating food that is grown locally and in season, you are really happy for a robust potato crop and things like these African potato cakes. Essentially, an African latke. The roasty, a Swiss latke. The gamjajan, essentially a Korean latke. Even the Germans have their own uncannily familiar version. And I must deliberately point out that even in Persia, where the Purim story originated, they go cuckoo, apparently, for potato pancakes. Have I whet your appetite? Are you feeling hungry? Are you ready to hit the road and taste some of these latke-like dishes in faraway places? Then let me remind you why you will not want to travel with a hamantachen. The hamantachen presents two very unique challenges specifically not conducive to travel. Prune and poppy. You know where this is going. Prune? Prune? Believe you me, and I don't want to bring potty humor here, but suffice it to say, in the places I've traveled and the stomach issues I've experienced, prunes need not apply. You thought Montezuma's revenge was bad? Let me tell you, Hamantushi's revenge is its own unique kind of film. And poppy seeds, which come from the plant that produces opium. I once traveled to Singapore with poppy hamantachen to eat as an in-flight snack, and I almost got arrested for drug trafficking on arrival. Hamantachen, they're just not worth the travel risk. But risks aside, hamantachen at their core filling are elitist and first worldish. Why, you might ask? Because they need to be baked. They require ovens. But in so many world cultures, there are no ovens. In so many villages I visited, families still cook over a wood or coal fire. Many nations have problems with their electric grid. They don't have enough power supply for their growing populations. The grid doesn't reach remote villages, and gas lines for kitchens are in woefully short supply or downright unavailable. These countries with no ovens are nothing like America or Europe or Canada. They have large populations living in poverty. They tend to have struggling infrastructure, likely some corruption. They can be hard to get to and hard to travel in for sure. They are what our president has so tactfully referred to as hamantachen hole countries. The people there, they tend to be so poor that they don't even have an oven to bake in. And not everyone is wanting or willing to help. There are people who would only and always put America first and don't care about the daily struggles of life in the developing world, or families piecing together meals over charred wood or old coal. These are the people that liked hamantachen and still like hamantachen. I had to. I mean, come on. Okay. These are not the global, inclusive, latke lovers that I want to meet and spend time with and travel with. These are not the people that are going to connect us together and solve some of the world's biggest problems and ensure that we live productively and successfully in the flattened global world. I hope I've proven to you today that latkes, as opposed to the hamantachen, stand for a globalized world of cultural inclusion and diversity. I hope you will be inspired by some crazy traveler senses of adventure and hit the open road one day soon to taste some of these global latke specialties for yourself and their native countries. Latkes are ultimately a lattice work of shredded potato, egg, salt, applesauce, sour cream. This coming together of flavors into one unique whole is the spirit of the latke. You can't separate the shreds of potato from one another. There is no filling and no dough, just one fried, united taste together. And with that, I rest my suitcase and I rest my case.